every movie has random trivia. And here at Trivial Theater, I explore some of these movies and the random circumstances that make them the weird creations that we love. Hey boys and ghouls, we're putting the ha back in Halloween with a gore-tastic favorite. This is Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. We pick up with a jump scare-esque scene and then meet a group of typical college stereotypes. Anal retentive kid, implied slutty girl, black guy, other chick, perceived stoner guy, a Chad named Chad, 2 frat guy sidekicks, and Allie, the only character with any actual depth. They're on their way to the great outdoors. But oh no!
We forgot the beer!
No! They stop at the not at all scarily titled Last Chance gas station and encounter a set of creepy hillbillies who bring nothing to the table but a broke-ass truck and stalker-like stares. They depart, cooler fully stocked, on a weekend that is sure to be nothing but enjoyable. The scene turns and we meet Tucker and Dale, who are headed to their newly purchased vacation home to make repairs and enjoy the weekend, which is sure to be nothing but enjoyable. I mean, an industrial-sized jar of hard-boiled eggs and a wood chipper ensure that, right? Along the way, they get pulled over by the cops. Not for drinking and driving, not for lack of seatbelts, but for a broken turn signal and a little bit of friendly exposition.
There ain't nothing up there but pain and suffering on a scale you can't even imagine.
Of course, they don't heed this and move on their way. The cabin in the woods, oh wait, that's another horror movie, is definitely a fixer-upper. Loose beams studded with nails and bone wind chimes definitely have a mid-90s design vibe that wouldn't work for today's discerning hillbilly on vacation. The college students go skinny dipping as the hillbillies go fishing. This leads to a massive misunderstanding that involves Allie slipping and hitting her head. Tucker and Dale safer, but the college students take this scene as kidnapping.
Ah, we got your friend! Oh God! They got Allison!
They jump into action and we learn that Chad has a weird ability with axes and a real bias against hillbillies. This stems from his dad and a group of people getting murdered by a set of crazed killer hillbillies before he was born. The deaths begin here, and I gotta say, they're pretty glorious. Perceived stoner guy gets impaled on a tree as he runs from Tucker, who in turn is battling a hive of bees with a chainsaw. Frat boy sidekick 1 gets shanked with his own pointed stick. Frat boy sidekick 2 takes an ill-advised dive into a wood chipper, thus leading to this subtle line that always makes me smile.
Are you okay?
Chad and his colleagues attack the cabin, and Tucker tries to bargain with beer. I mean, who can say no to PBR?
Let me go. I can get my cooler. Hey, I got 10 to 12 beers in there. They're yours.
Everything kind of goes downhill in a sequence that involves a jar of moonshine, a weed whacker, and a giant explosion. Chad goes a little off the rails and tries to give Allie a split personality. After a battle that asks the classic question of who would win between a chainsaw and a pipe, Dale saves the day and the new couple goes bowling. You know, I kind of feel for Tucker. He gets a raw end of the deal throughout this entire movie. Between not knowing how to drink a beer, the continued nut shots, and losing a couple of fingers, guy just can't catch a break. All this while Dale ends up with his crush. So Tucker and Dale kind of defines Halloween for me. It's a little gory, a little goofy, and just a shit ton of fun. Like a good chunk of cult movies, you either know this one really well, or you've never heard of it. It premiered at Sundance in 2010 and had a limited release. It follows in the footsteps of Shaun of the Dead as being a really good horror comedy. It alternates comedic and gory elements like a pro. The deaths are horrific, but the way they go down leaves you chuckling and wincing at the same time. There's even some quick editing sequences that look like they're paying just a little bit of homage to the Edgar Wright classic. The first time I saw this, I felt like there was a lot of allusions to Scream. Both movies kind of look at the horror genre and are self-aware enough to pick at the tropes, all while falling victim to those same tropes themselves. I really think Tucker and Dale did it better, or at least did it in a way that was more fun. Showing two sides of various horror scenarios and then flipping the ending was awesome. They didn't just talk about it though, there's a difference and attention to the way that the scenes are shot. The idea of perception plays heavily into this one, and for the most part, they use it really well. You can see how someone in that position would judge that particular event in the same way. Along those same lines, the one thing you can definitively say about this movie is everybody has their horror blinders on hardcore. On one side, you've got the stereotypical looking college students who fear that the stereotypical looking hillbillies are gonna straight up murder their asses. But alternatively, Tucker and Dale kinda do that same thing in regards to the origins of their vacation home. I absolutely love that this happens on both sides. We get a fair amount of depth to Tucker and Dale, who being the title characters need that more so we have a reason to care about them. The college students on the other hand are incredibly one-dimensional. In stark contrast to a lot of modern horror where this happens a lot with the main characters, I feel like it works here because the college students do kind of become antagonists. Now, this isn't a perfect movie, but the only real gripe I have is that some of the visual effects haven't aged the greatest. But that's true of a lot of movies, and in the grand scheme, this particular movie doesn't rely on them very heavily to begin with. There has been a lot of on and off talk of a sequel as recently as April, but as always the question stands as if it's really needed. The recent Zombieland 2 brings this question back into light. I don't have answers, but reviews have really kind of been middle of the road. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is a little gem of a horror comedy. If you haven't looked at it, I can't recommend it enough. Along with Shaun of the Dead, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and What We Do in the Shadows, it's essential viewing that really gets me into a spooky season mood. These hillbillies will pull at your heartstrings, right before a psycho killer tries to rip them out. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies? Trivial questions? Comments, ratings, and an answer to whether you can fight bees with a chainsaw or not would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.